photograph is called We Will Always Have the Hotel de Medicis, Paris. And this photograph is 47 years in the making. That how old you are? Each time my husband Dan Nursing, who's here with us today, and I returned to Paris over the years, we always stop by to check on the Hotel de Medicis. 214 Rue Saint-Jacques, the oldest street in Paris, where we once lived, and for us it's a sacred space. We were teenagers in the summer of 1971 when we stayed here for over a month. We've been traveling around the world together in Spain, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Italy, and up to France. We paid $3 a night to stay in a room for backpackers and American students. And for us, this was home. We were young, we were in love, we were in the heart of Paris, and we didn't even care that it was falling apart and decrepit hotel built in the 1700s as a coaching inn. And at the time it was built in the walled city of Old Paris. It was what we could afford, and it was better than the other alternatives. The hotel was owned by the Rowe family from 1969 to 2008, but they closed it down for almost 2 years, and it reopened as a 4-star luxury 20-room boutique hotel. And the owners were allowed to completely gut the inside of the building, but in France they have strict preservation laws, and so they couldn't touch the facade or anything on the exterior of the building. So now the hotel is priced at $200 to $400 a night, and it's called Hotel Le Petit Paris. So it went from being one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest hotel in the Latin Quarter, to one of the most expensive in the neighborhood. When we stayed there, the entire 5-story hotel had one shower. And it cost $1.50 more to take that hot shower. And so you can see we're on $5 a day. We spend $3 on the room shower, so we got 50 cents. And that's when we learned to live on 1 meal a day. So each floor only had one toilet, and the toilet was in a door on the side of the stairwell that you opened. Because when this was built, only 6% of people in Paris had running water in their homes, and this was not one of them. So later on, the hotel became very legendary because Jim Morrison, lead singer of the Doors, had stayed there for a week with a girlfriend in 1970. But he had moved to Paris and had his own apartment, but he was hanging out in this place. And then he died just a few weeks before we arrived in Paris. And once when we went back, one of the times we went back, there was a plaque on top of the door, and it said, American artist Wayne Esrud lived and painted here. And we looked at us like, who's Wayne Esrud? We had no idea who he was. Then we were in our New York apartment in the mid-'80s, and we get a Sherry Lehman catalog in the mail. The cover is Wayne Esrud. He painted exuberant, colorful, not impressionistic, more fauve, with ink wash, Picasso-like, and Sherry Lehman had commissioned him to do their catalogs, to do wine labels, and he did wine labels for many French vineyards and started doing for American vineyards, and that became his niche. He was a wine painter, a wine label painter, and a wine chateau painter. So, and then it was about 20 years ago. It was really warm and was just standing on the street. This street is actually the oldest street in Paris because the Romans had built it in the 1st century. And so it's very narrow in the old mountain quarter. And we're just standing across the street looking up at the hotel. It's warm and there's a couple with the windows open because there's no air conditioning in the hotel. You're going to see it. It's like 2001. And we see the people hanging out. We start talking to them. How you doing? What are you doing? And so we say, well, how much is your room? And they say, $100 American, best deal in Paris. Oh my God. The space depicted here is from 2018, from July of 2018. And it's in a space that is the lobby now, and it was a commercial space. It was a hardware store, it was a clothing store, and we never were in it because they take off in August and July, so it was closed. So walking into it was kind of wonder and a kind of a time shift of place and space, never having been, so we're trying to adjust to it. And we had chosen to be in the Latin Quarter because of the intellectual life, the artistic life. We were one block from the Sorbonne, where they were a latecomer to the neighborhood. They arrived in like 1200, and this is where printing first started in France. And there were bookstores every other shop at that time. And just to go down the street and to read, and they were very specialized, and it was like finding out what everybody was writing and thinking in Paris that summer. We had friends, an old professor from England and his French wife and their son were staying in an apartment. The apartment was like a quarter of the size of this room. So, it was an exciting time. We, you could go up to the Mona Lisa. There was no bulletproof glass. There were no people. The Luxembourg Gardens was 850 feet from the front door. It was really location, location, location. And sometimes we would take long walks to go to the Cinémathèque Française, where they had started collecting in the 30s international movies from all over the world and protecting them. And sometimes we would see several movies a day, and sometimes the movies would be in 3 languages at once. The new version of this hotel would be akin to walking into the Twilight Zone if it were 1971 and we were walking in. This hotel was so very French that the concierge would only speak to you in French if you were a guest there. When you came into the hotel, you walked down a long, dark hallway that was like 20 inches. You went up winding stairs to a landing where she was, and she gave you a key, and you had to pay her every day. It was really like 18th, 19th century rather than 20th century. So this was such a shock to see. I mean, you're standing here in this new configuration. To the right, the lobby continues. It's actually a very small space. The street, people can look in, so it's kind of like a marketing advertising to come stay at this hotel. But to the left is a courtyard where they weren't able to do anything to the exterior, and they had the French doors and the fresco walls, and they had 2 itsy-bitsy bistro round tables with matching chairs, and it looked just like France. And actually that's the moment when I pushed myself up against the wall and just seized the moment to take this because the contrasts were so abundant. The lamp is an iconic Italian architect. A team of brothers created it in 1962. The chair is a Dane, Arne Jacobsen, from 1958, but he didn't show it to the public until 1960. And these 2 pieces have never been out of production for the last 60 years. You can still buy them. So he was called a perfectionist modernist by people. So this space was quite intriguing. It's kind of 21st century conglomeration of postmodern, modern, contemporary, but it kind of catapults you into futurism with mainly based on the color, I would say. So it's almost like these iconic pieces anchor you in the reality, and then the rest is kind of a stage set. And I really can't say where I've ever seen those 5 colors combined. And at first glance, they look like books. They're not books. They're wood, or they're empty cardboard boxes, and it's just for the decorativeness of it. And I'm kind of calling it the Instagram-worthy effect. It's cinematographic. But the choice of these psychedelic colors really does go with this 60s and mid-century modern. And except if it was that time, those would be real books. And that would be very important to people at that time. And the books were very important to us, and we're a book family, a book-loving family. One of these colors is organically French, and that's the chartreuse. The origin of this secret herbal recipe was originally medicinal, an elixir for long life. Around 1600, an alchemist came to the Carthusian monk order and gave them a manuscript that was almost undecipherable. And it was an intricate process of combining 130 plants and herbs and wine to make this medicine, this elixir. But its chartreuse popularity as an alcoholic drink, and I know we have one chartreuse lover here, and we have some chartreuse on the table for you to taste later. Apparently, I didn't see this movie, but Quentin Tarantino in 2007 made a movie in which he talks and says, chartreuse, the only liqueur so good they named a color after it. So skyrocket, like 40% everybody started buying it. So in preparation for this talk, I asked a handful of friends to look at it and say, what do you see when you see this? And I got different responses. It's America. So my friend Craig said, is that an art installation? And then he wanted to know, are those real books? He's an author and a screenwriter. And my friend Karina opened up her laptop, pulled up the SMPTE Color Bars TV test pattern, and which was invented the year I was born in 1951, and Karina broke the gender line in Hollywood in sound editing. So every single day, every time she did a project, the first thing she did was open the SMPTE to color match for chroma and luminance, every single color in the whole project. She said, both the color combination that I'm seeing here, the rectangular forms, to me, I just immediately think SMPTE. Oliver, who's a rising freshman at GW, took one look at it and said, that looks like DNA sequencing to me. So other friends just immediately responded to color. What I take from it is intense color and rectangular forms and patterns. So perhaps this extraordinarily arranged environment, psychological environment or environment, is a comment on our current culture, where we spend so much time on our phones and on our iPads, and we can easily access any book that might possibly fit on that bookcase in mere seconds. And it might also be a subtle hint to those wanting to spend any significant amount of time in this space that sitting down to twirl in an egg chair, which is one of the reasons he made it twirl, was so that you could talk to people and turn this way and that way. Eyeball to eyeball with people. That perhaps we don't really want you to do that. This is an audacious and bold stage set. It's not really for conversation. So we were actually discouraged from staying in the lobby too long by the French reception guy who said to us, well, you're not paying guests, and this hotel has absolutely nothing to do with the hotel in 1971, so I don't know why you're here. And, but even though the Hotel de Medicis has changed so significantly, the memories of our time there in 1971 remain very strong. So this photograph, I was in Paris because we were preparing for a family tour to commemorate the 100th anniversary of World War I, and our cousin, Sergeant Sherman, fought in battles in France. And after years of persistence, his daughters were posthumously given his Medal of Honor for heroism. I've only just started showing this image, but it's already been in 3 juried shows in a couple of months and 3 states. Hi, Cindy. My sister. My Aunt Jean. All the way up from New Jersey. Oh, yeah. Thank you for coming, guys. So, when I was here in this hotel in 1971, I didn't have a camera. I wasn't a photographer. So all my images of that incredible summer of experiences are only archived in my mind. But now, looking at this one image, even though it looks nothing like the experiences that my mind's eye remembers, I still see it as a Proustian Madeleine, to cop a very French metaphor, to recall and rebuild and reconstruct and reimagine so many of those experiences in a flood of memories.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
How big is that area? Is it like a 10 by 10 possibly?
It's quite small. I think it must be like 4 feet, but it's a narrow space, and they're using every single, bit of space with built-ins and a coffee machine, and like in the courtyard there's like room for 4 people. And there's only 20 rooms, but so I'm all the way back on the wall trying to. And the guys say, "What are you doing here? What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know." So it was a labor of love together.
Well, I want to say that, so as the co-chairs, we get to decide what people would like to be in the walk and talk, and we started that process, and we both of us were like, that one. Both of us just were drawn to that, and we're really glad that you agreed to do it, because
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
Did you have to take a lot of shots?
I couldn't take too many because I had pressure on me to get out.
Yeah.
And he couldn't see me. There was an opening, and I was like, I didn't know how happy he was going to be taking pictures of his interior design. Might be proprietary, I don't know.
I had one more question too. Maybe you mentioned it because I came in a little late, but I love the way you have it presented. Like, I'm just sitting here, I love the shadow on the bottom. Like, how is it? Is it printed on something special?
Yes, it's on aluminum.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 2-3 years, Adam.
Yeah.
And I've started out printing it on plexi, which is richer color. It's more like a Kodachrome when you see it, or it's more saturated, and I like it, but the plexi is just so soft it just gets scratched, and I can never feel the scratches. So this is a little cooler, not as warm, but it still holds the color, and it's much more durable. And it takes away the glass aspect, you know, that distances it from the
Yeah,
wall.
I love that.
You can also see the rest of the room in the lamp. If you look, you can see the rest of the room.
I was trying to get a self-portrait in there.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you. Thank you very much.